Welcome back, everybody, to episode 10 of the CG Sports Podcast. Today, we're going to be doing our second ever weekly news episode, so let's get right into it. Starting off with the NFL, a lot of our news here this week is going to be about the trade deadline, which just hit, but there is going to be some other news. So to start, the Cowboys, in some non-trade news, are going to be without Andy Dalton for yet another game. They played their Sunday Night Football game last week against the Eagles without him, and they're going to be playing this Sunday without him again. Cowboys, of course, playing the undefeated Steelers on Sunday, so they didn't really, in my opinion, they really didn't have a chance to win this game. I think it's smart to leave him out again, even if they did have a choice. I don't think it was worth playing him. This means Ben DiNucci is going to once again get a start. I think we should expect Dalton back for Week 11, as the Cowboys' bye week will be Week 10, so we should expect him back for Week 11 to play the Vikings. So our first trade of this week's news episode is going to be the Dolphins trading their wide receiver Isaiah Ford to the Patriots for a 2022 7th-round pick. I really like this trade personally for both teams. I feel like the Pats really needed another wideout to help out Cam Newton, so I think this was a good guy to pick up. I like that, at least on the Patriots end. And then for the Dolphins, they really didn't need Ford on the team anymore because they already had their 3 receivers. So I think this was a good move, giving him up and taking a future pick. So I think that was good for them as well. Our next trade is going to be the Chiefs, who traded their running back DeAndre Washington and a 2021 7th-round pick to the Dolphins for just their 2021 6th-round pick. Now, once again, I like this move for both teams as well. For the Finns, they get some running back depth, which I feel was very much needed. And then for the Chiefs, as we know, they just picked up Le'Veon Bell. He's playing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so their running back position is pretty much set. So they didn't really need DeAndre Washington anymore. I like the move of getting rid of him, and they actually swap picks, and they get a better pick out of it. So I think that was really good too. Next trade we've got is the Jets, who traded Avery Williamson and a 7th-round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers for just a 5th-round pick. For the Steelers, I love this trade. Devin Bush has been out pretty much all season. We don't really know when he's coming back. I think Avery Williamson will be a great temporary replacement at linebacker, a great young talent. For the Jets, at least, I don't like this trade as much. Getting just a 5th really isn't the best. Williamson, I feel, has a lot of value, and I think this trade was kind of rushed, personally. I feel like if they made this trade a little bit earlier, like 2 or 3 weeks earlier, or at least started the discussion a little earlier, they could have gotten more than just a 5th-round pick. But I do understand, because if they maybe waited a little later, they might have gotten something worse, so they're going to trade him to a contending team. So, not the worst idea, but I feel like they could have done something better. Next trade we've got is the 49ers, who traded Quan Alexander to the Saints for Kiko Alonso and a 2021 5th-round pick. For the Saints, they are real contenders here, at least for this season, and I think picking up Quan Alexander is going to be huge for their defense. Of course, they brought in Malcolm Jenkins this offseason, a great veteran, role player, and he's a good leader, all that. And I think Quan will do a similar thing, He's going to be a great leader and just keep everybody together, as Malcolm Jenkins does as well. For the Niners, I think this was smart too, to get something for Quan rather than him leaving this offseason. So I think it was smart of them to trade him when they did. And yeah, another trade where I think really both teams got some good out of it. Next, we're going to talk about, this isn't a trade, but this was almost a trade that happened. The Green Bay Packers were looking to trade for Will Fuller, but this trade was not able to happen. I must say, though, it would have been interesting to see them play together. I mean, if you guys remember back when Randall Cobb was on Green Bay, when Rodgers gets a big, speedy, deep threat receiver, or not big, Randall Cobb's not big, neither is Will Fuller, but when you get Rodgers a speedy, deep threat receiver like Randall Cobb he had, it really opens up his offense because he can get guys open, he can throw the passes, and opening up that deep ball just brings a whole presence, and you got to worry about that too. So I think it would have been nice to see Will Fuller there, but obviously the trade did not go through. Next news we've got is Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey has officially tested positive for the coronavirus, and he will not be playing Sunday against the Colts. I think this could be a huge loss for the Ravens. Humphrey has really played like a top 3 corner in the league this season. I guess the only guys you could really say is really Ramsey. So, I guess you could say top 2. And, I think he's played really well. The Colts, obviously, I wouldn't say they're more of a running team. I'd say they're about average, but I think they're a primary passing team. So this could be a pretty big loss for them. They're obviously going to have to bring in a new guy to play their cornerback 3 as everyone's going to, move up a slot. So we'll see how the Ravens choose to adapt to losing him for this week and for however long. We don't even know yet. Next news we've got the 49ers have ruled out Deebo Samuel. They're probably their best wide receiver behind just, Emmanuel Sanders, and running back Tevin Coleman for their Thursday night game against Green Bay. As we said with the Ravens, except with the Niners, obviously this is going to be a huge loss for them, I think. Deebo Samuel, he's basically the heart and soul of that offense. He's the guy you always see running those end-around plays. He's a great rack receiver. He could take a 3-yard drag and make it a 45-yard play, He's been great this season, and I think it could hurt them against Green Bay, who already has a pretty good defense. Next, we've got the Giants claiming Dante Pettis off the waivers. This guy was actually waived by the Niners, and the Giants picked him up. I think this could be a nice slot receiver for the Giants. This is a great guy, similar to Deebo, who can take a 4-yard drag and make it more. He's been amazing even last season, the little bit of him that we saw. He's a great slot receiver, and I think with how injury-prone the Giants have been, if one of those guys, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, one of those guys goes down, I think he could be a good backup wide receiver. Next news we've got is Mitchell Trubisky for the Chicago Bears. He has officially confirmed that he injured his shoulder and that he is going to miss multiple weeks. And I put this towards the end because I don't think this is as significant considering that Nick Foles has been the starter for the past couple of weeks and he is the better starter in my opinion. So this really isn't going to change much. And yeah, that's all we got for that. Next up, more news on the 49ers. They have officially shut down their facility as of this morning, November 4th. As wide receiver Kendrick Bourne has tested positive for the virus. It is still unknown how this is going to affect their Thursday game against Green Bay. So we'll see how that goes. Next news we've got is about Antonio Brown. He spoke to reporters today after recently being signed by the Bucks just about a week ago. Brown says that he hopes to win over fans with his actions. He's obviously gained a reputation for whining during games and his psychotic off-field actions. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if he can, keep his cool, keep things together because he's on a real Super Bowl contending team. And if he wants to secure a ring, I think he's got to keep his cool and play to the potential that we all think he has. Next news we've got is the Panthers, who have recently said that they are very hopeful that Christian McCaffrey will be making his return this Sunday against the Chiefs. Now, personally, as I said, I do think he's going to be able to play this Sunday. So I don't know if it's the best game to bring him back because obviously the Chiefs, a powerhouse, they're probably not going to beat them. I think it'd be better to let him take the extra week off and come back for Week 10. But we'll see. I do think he's going to play, though. Next news we've got is more on this Thursday night game between the Packers and the Niners. Aaron Jones is now questionable to play in this game. I just had to bring this up because I feel like it's important. He's a star running back in this league. We've seen him. He was hurt, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So this could be something more serious than we think. But we'll just have to see. That is if it even happens because, as we said, a Niners player tested positive. So everyone else is going to have to get tested. But I'll keep you guys updated on that. Finally, our final news for this week in the NFL will be about Matthew Stafford. He has officially been placed on the Lions' COVID-19 reserve list. Stafford, obviously, he's been great this season. The Lions don't have the best record, but if you've watched him play, he's been very efficient. He's been great all season. It's really sad to see him go like this. Obviously, he won't be going too long, hopefully, but he's not expected to play Sunday against Minnesota. Now let's get to our famous birthdays as we do for every weekly news episode with all our NFL guys, starting off with Dez Bryant. We got a lot this week, so we'll start with Dez Bryant. Turned 32 today. Just recently got signed to the Ravens practice squad, so we'll see where he goes from there. But happy birthday to him. Next guy we've got is Devin Hester, who turned 38 today. Obviously, the greatest kick and punt returner in NFL history. Was a great returner at Miami where he really set himself apart. Played for the Bears mostly. Obviously got that return in the Super Bowl. Had a decent run with the Falcons too. And yeah, just all around a great returner. Next up we've got Vince Wilfork, who turned 39 today. Obviously, one of the best D tackles in the league in the 2000s and a little bit of the 2010s. Obviously, played on Brady's Patriots for most of his career and then ended off with a little stint in Houston. But yeah, all around, great player. Happy birthday to him. Next up, we've got Orlando Pace, who turned 45 today. He was, of course, a great player. Super Bowl 34 winner on the Rams with that greatest show on turf. Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, all those guys. So Super Bowl winner, turned 45. Happy birthday to him. Next up, we've got Deion Jones. Of course, a lot of you guys know him, the linebacker for the Falcons. Turned 26 today. Phenomenal player, great linebacker, speedy, athletic, great tackler, good hands, can play coverage, stuff to run. He can do it all. So all-around great player. Happy birthday to him. Next up, we've got Brandon LaFell, who turned 34 today. I don't believe he's in the league anymore, but a lot of you will probably remember him from playing with Tom Brady. He was one of those wide receivers he had to go along with. I believe he was there around when Edelman and Gronk were there too, so he was a small part of that offense, but he did his thing. I believe he got 2 rings, so good for him. Next up, we've got Chris Davis, who turned 30 today. Now, if some of you more college football fans will know who Chris Davis is, but if you're an NFL fan, you probably don't know. But this is the guy who ran back a kick in the 2013 Iron Bowl. They kicked a field goal, and he was back there, and he caught it because it missed short, and he ran it back 104 yards to win the game. 2013 Iron Bowl. Amazing play. So happy 30th birthday to him. I don't think he's currently playing football at the moment, but, hopefully we'll see him in the league sometime soon. Now we're going to move on to our NBA news. And most of this is just rumors or coach signings, but, we're still going to cover all that. So, starting off, we've had a lot of players agree on a December 22nd start date for the NBA season. But on the other hand, we also have a lot of guys that have stated they need more time because obviously, usually the season ends around June and starts up in October. So they get like 4 months. Now they're only getting about 1.5 to 2 months. So guys like Danny Green and LeBron have said publicly that they don't want to play, specifically them, because they obviously won the championship. So they're going to have way less time than a team, for example, like the Knicks, who hasn't played since March. So yeah, it should be interesting to see who plays and who doesn't. Next news, we've got the Chicago Bulls have signed Maurice Cheeks as an assistant coach to work with Billy Donovan, who is, of course, their head coach. Maurice is best known for his time as a point guard with the Sixers back in the 80s, played with Julius Erving for a little bit, and I think he brings great knowledge as a coach. I think he's going to be a great addition to Billy Donovan's staff and will give some good insight from at least a player's perspective. Next up, the Hawks plan to hire Nate McMillan as an assistant coach. This guy, of course, used to be coaching in Indiana, and he really helped Victor Oladipo and guys like Miles Turner and Bogdanovich to develop into the players they are today. So I think he's really good with developing. I mean, look at how many guys Indiana has, young guys who are becoming stars in this league. I think he's a great at developing players and just making guys better. So I think he's going to be a great help in developing those young guys in Atlanta. You look at guys like Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, all those guys. I think he's going to be a great help. DeAndre Hunter, too. I think he's going to be a great help in developing those dudes and really making them stars, even though Trae Young pretty much already is. But, everyone's going to get better as he's the coach. Next news we've got, the Pelicans have officially opened up to shopping Drew Holiday, who has, of course, been a solid shooting guard in this league for a while now. I believe his best 3 landing spots would probably be with the Nuggets, Nets, or Heat. All teams that would really put use to him. For the Nuggets, I think he'd be great alongside Jamal Murray and Jokic, even though they may have to flip one of them to get him. For the Nets, he'd be nice alongside of Kyrie and KD. I think that deal would probably have to do with Jared Allen. And then for the Heat, of course, he would fit in perfectly, a 3-and-D guy. I wouldn't really call him a 3-and-D, but a great defender and a solid scorer. So I think he'd fit in well there with Jimmy, Goran, Bam. I think that deal would have to do with maybe Duncan Robinson and maybe even Tyler Hero. We'll see. But I personally can't wait to see which team he gets shopped to. I think one of those 3 is going to be his new landing spot, and I think he'll make a major impact wherever he does go. Finally, our last news for this week in the NBA is all about Giannis. The Warriors have stated that they plan to make a very intriguing package for Giannis that will include Andrew Wiggins. And I think this is definitely possible. It would be very similar to a situation that he had in Milwaukee, where they're going to surround him with shooters. Of course, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, guys like that. Shooters. And he can just play his paint. And obviously, if they double, triple, whatever, team him, he has open shooters that he can get the ball to, similar to what they did in Milwaukee. And in more Giannis news, Giannis has stated that the only team he is prepared to sign a long-term deal with is the Miami Heat, who are the other big name trying to get Giannis. They have said that they are willing to flip Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, a bunch of their young talent they're willing to get rid of to pick this guy up. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if he gets a deal sometime soon. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon, but we'll see. You never know. And our famous birthday, obviously we had a lot for the NFL, just one for the NBA. Eric Pascal, once at Villanova, pretty solid player there, drafted by the Warriors in the second round. And all around, just a nice young player. He turned 24 today, so happy birthday to him. And our final segment of this week's weekly news episode is going to be a new one we're going to start doing, which is going to be This Day in Sports. So for today's This Day in Sports is going to come back to 1924, where California legalized the sport of boxing after 10 years of it being banned. So we're going to start doing that every week. Next week we'll come back to our game reviews and everything. So that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for listening to this episode. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow for my Week 9 predictions. Make sure to check that out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.